The desert wakes slowly. Before the sun rises, before the heat turns the sand into a mirror of fire, there is a brief moment when the dunes are cool and the wind moves like a whisper across the land. This is the hour when the desert belongs only to those who respect it. Yusuf had learned that lesson early. He had been a desert safari worker for nearly 10 years, guiding tourists through the endless sea of sand, teaching them how to read the wind, how to follow tire tracks, how to tell the difference between silence that meant peace and silence that meant something was wrong. His days were usually predictable: early morning vehicle checks, long drives through golden dunes, stories shared around evening fires, and the quiet pride of bringing people safely back from a land that could be unforgiving. On this morning, Yusuf was alone. The safari camp had asked him to scout a remote section of the desert after a sandstorm the night before. Sometimes storms revealed new paths. Sometimes they buried old ones. And sometimes, they revealed things that were never meant to be seen. Yusuf climbed into his Toyota LC70, the engine rumbling steadily beneath him. The vehicle was old but dependable, its paint faded by years of sun and sand. In the desert, reliability mattered more than comfort. He checked the fuel, the spare tires, the radio, and the medical kit he always carried. Then he drove out, leaving the camp behind as the horizon slowly turned gold. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction. As Yusuf drove, he noticed signs of the storm: dunes reshaped, shrubs half buried, animal tracks erased and rewritten by the wind. The LC70 handled the uneven ground with ease, its tires gripping the sand like they were meant for it. That's when he saw something that made him slow down. At first, it looked like a shadow where no shadow should be. A darker shape near the base of a dune, unmoving. Yusuf stopped the vehicle and turned off the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy. He stepped out slowly, boots sinking slightly into the sand. The air was still. No birds. No insects. Then he saw the mane. A lion lay partially sheltered by the dune, its massive body stretched out, chest rising and falling slowly. Its golden fur was dulled by dust, and its head rested awkwardly against the sand. Yusuf froze. Lions were rare this deep into the desert. They avoided humans. And an unmoving lion was never a good sign. Every instinct told him to get back into the vehicle and leave. This was dangerous. A wounded animal could still be powerful, unpredictable. But something about the scene felt wrong in a different way. The lion did not react to his presence. No growl, no movement. Just slow, labored breathing. Yusuf crouched at a safe distance, his heart pounding. He could see now that one of the lion's legs was injured, nothing graphic, but clearly strained, bent at an unnatural angle. Perhaps it had fallen during the storm. Perhaps it had been caught in a collapse of sand. Whatever had happened, the lion was in trouble. Leaving it meant certain death. The sun would rise higher. The heat would come. And alone, injured, the lion would not survive. Yusuf spoke softly, more to steady himself than anything else. Easy, big one. Easy. The lion's ear twitched. That was when Yusuf realized something important. The lion was conscious. Weak. But alive. Yusuf backed away slowly and returned to the LC70. His hands shook as he grabbed the radio. Base. This is Yusuf, he said. I've found a lion. Injured. Alive. Coordinates. Coming now. There was a long pause on the radio. Then disbelief. A lion? Yes. Yusuf replied. Bad condition. I don't think it'll last long out here. Another pause. Then urgency. We're calling wildlife medics. Stay safe. Do not approach. Yusuf looked back at the lion, lying in the sand, breathing shallowly. If he stayed where he was, help would take hours to arrive. The terrain was rough. Vehicles would struggle. And time was something the lion did not have. Yusuf made a decision that would change everything. He knew the LC-70. He knew its strength. And he knew that doing nothing was no longer an option. Carefully, cautiously, Yusuf prepared the back of the truck. He removed equipment, laid down thick blankets, and secured straps, not to restrain, but to prevent movement during transport. He kept his movements slow, respectful. Approaching the lion was the hardest thing he had ever done. He stayed in the lion's field of vision, speaking softly the entire time. The lion lifted its head weakly, eyes half open, watching him without aggression, only exhaustion. With careful coordination, using tools and techniques he had learned in animal safety training, Yusuf managed to guide the lion onto a reinforced platform and into the back of the LC-70. The animal was heavy, powerful even in weakness, but it did not resist. It was as if it understood. Once secured, Yusuf climbed into the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel tightly. "Hold on," he whispered. "We're going to help you." The drive back was slow and deliberate. Every bump felt dangerous. Yusuf avoided sharp turns, keeping the vehicle steady as the sun climbed higher. He watched the temperature gauge, the fuel, and the rearview mirror constantly. In the mirror, the lion lay still, chest rising and falling. The desert passed by in a blur of sand and sky. At one point, the lion lifted its head and let out a low, quiet sound. Not a roar, not a growl, but something softer. Tired, vulnerable. Yusuf felt a strange mix of fear and responsibility. By the time he reached the rendezvous point, the wildlife medic team was waiting. 2 vehicles, trained professionals, calm and focused. They moved quickly. The lion was carefully transferred onto a stretcher designed for large animals. Medics checked its breathing, hydration, and injury. They spoke in quiet, professional tones, their movements precise. "He's lucky," one of them said. "Another hour out there, and it would have been too late." Yusuf exhaled, realizing only then how tense he had been. The lion was taken to a temporary field clinic set up for emergencies like this. Shade, structures, medical equipment, and cool water surrounded the area. Yusuf stayed nearby, watching as the medics worked. They cleaned the injury, stabilized the leg, and administered fluids. The lion's breathing gradually became steadier. Its eyes closed, resting. For the first time since the morning, Yusuf allowed himself to sit down. Hours passed. As the sun began to lower, one of the medics approached Yusuf with a small smile. "He's going to recover," she said. "It'll take time, but he'll walk again." Yusuf nodded, emotion catching in his throat. That evening, as the desert cooled and the sky turned deep orange, the lion was transported to a protected reserve where it could heal safely. Yusuf followed the convoy part of the way, then stopped, watching the dust settle behind them. The desert returned to silence. Days later, word spread. The story of the desert worker and the lion traveled beyond the safari camp. Wildlife organizations praised the quick thinking. Locals spoke of respect, how the desert had tested a man, and he had answered with courage. Weeks later, Yusuf received a message. The lion had been released, fully healed. strong, back where it belonged. Yusuf stood at the edge of the camp that night, looking out at the endless dunes. Somewhere out there, a lion walked beneath the stars, alive because someone had chosen to act instead of turning away. The desert, vast and unforgiving, had shown mercy that day. And Yusuf had learned that sometimes, saving a life doesn't require fearlessness, only respect, patience, and the courage to do what is right. The wind moved softly across the sand, and the desert watched, as it always does.